Floodwaters continue to threaten Croatia's eastern regions in the wider Sava River basin, and yesterday during a teleconference session, the Croatian government proclaimed the territory of Vukovar-Srem County a natural disaster area. Even though water levels are slowly receding, the evacuation of the settlements of Strošinci and Posavski Podgajci began yesterday, even though some residents do not want to leave their homes. The fight against floodwaters is also continuing in neighboring Bosnia-Herzegovina. The high flood tide on the Sava River has reached the outskirts of the town of Orašje, although some good news is that water levels are declining and local embankments have been repaired. An estimated 30,000 residents have been evacuated from their homes. 3 days of mourning have been proclaimed in neighboring Serbia for the 21 persons killed due to the flooding. The Sava River has engulfed a number of settlements in the northern province of Srem, and thousands have been evacuated. The high flood tide is heading toward the capital, Belgrade, although local authorities say the city is prepared. And back in Croatia, the fate of livestock is another concern in the largely agricultural region in Croatia's east impacted by the flooding. An association of horse lovers from the village of Hrastovsko, north of Zagreb, have launched a campaign to gather stock feed to send to flood-stricken areas. So far, about 20 tons of hay and grain have been donated, and the gathering of feed for farm animals will continue over the coming days. Vukovar-Srem County Prefect Božo Galić said he is unhappy with Croatia's National Water Management Company, claiming that its assessments concerning the flooding were erroneous and that it should not have given up on protecting certain villages from flooding. He also characterized the visits to flood zones by the Prime Minister and other members of the cabinet as little more than tourist outings. This morning on Croatian radio, Agriculture Minister Tihomir Jakovina responded to these criticisms, saying that even as he and other ministers were often on the scene with shovels in their hands helping in the flood control efforts, Galić was nowhere to be seen. He also alleged that the firm owned by Galić was involved in constructing the flood protection embankments along rivers, which have now proven faulty. In Parliament this morning, Interior Minister Ranko Ostojić presented a report on flood-stricken areas, noting that about 30,000 people are suffering from the impact of flooding. He said that hundreds of soldiers, firefighters, and Croatian Red Cross workers, as well as members of search and rescue and healthcare services, non-governmental associations, and volunteers are in action. Over 1,000 police officers are securing homes and property. Otherwise, Parliament is today debating a bill on the state's information infrastructure, which is aimed at establishing paperless administration. Electronic administration will be organized such that everyone will be granted access to data gathered by public sector institutions. In sports-related news, the members of the Croatian national football team arrived in Posavski Podgajci this morning to show support for local residents and to provide assistance in any way they can. Head coach Niko Kovac said he and his players will also divert a percentage of their earnings to humanitarian efforts aimed at the flood-stricken areas. And in sports, this evening the final 14th round of the Croatian Basketball Champions League will be played. Zadar will host Zagreb's Cibona, while Cedevita Vita will face crosstown rival Zagreb. Also scheduled are matches between Kvarner and Alkar and Jolly and Šibenik. And finally, the weather forecast for the rest of the day. Most parts of the country can expect sunshine with virtually cloudless skies in many areas and only light breezes blowing. Light southwesterly and southerly winds will blow on the coast, so the sea will be calm or only slightly wavy. Visibility will be good and water temperatures will range from 16 to 19 degrees Celsius. Today's high temperatures will range from 23 to 28 degrees Celsius.